Hey everybody, my name is Benjamin, and I've been following the Calcity case with Orrin and Orson West, and being that America is as it is right now, of course I'm spending a lot of time indoors like everyone else, and you know, this kind of, the algorithm of YouTube is a beautiful thing, you know, and I got exposed to it anyhow. And I started seeing more and more content come out about the boys. And I'll be honest with you, I was blessed, I guess, in that way, because AV Watchmen was the first channel that came across that I happened to pick up. And so I've seen the progression of AV through, and this video isn't about AV, but I've seen the progression of AV through his journey following the boys, and it's been remarkable. But there's a few points, and I'm not going to go on and on and on, but there's a few points that I wanted to make about a few things as a concerned outsider that's very analytical, and you know, I'm, you know, can see the details, I guess. You know, I don't know where the boys are, but I think that there are good formulas to help aid in the search in getting the information to find out where they are located, or what have you. And so the first thing I wanted to touch on was leads. Of course, leads are really important, but at the same time, they can be very dangerous. In the community in which I see a lot of these live chats, you know, they're whole living organisms, and they're very scary and disorganized. That's the one thing that I see about all the lead gathering and a lot of the different information that's just being kind of slingshot around. You know, it's very disorganized, and there's no, I can't say no, because then I'd fall into the same class of people that would do that, but probably very little source checking and fact checking, and you know, videos being taken down and information being lost, or, you know, it started out a red Corvette and it ended out a yellow school bus, you know, that sort of thing. You know, so leads, you know, I think there's a really, you know, layman way to kind of sift through the leads, and you know, and that be that, you know, take it for what it is. The other thing that one of the other things I wanted to touch on was biased, or emotion. You know, if you are unable to remain completely on the fence, not 1 foot in, 1 foot over here, whatever, you know, emotion clouds your judgment. And when I've seen other channels, they start off in the very initial birth of these situations like this, and they, some of them appear to be very unbiased. And by the time, you know, you get partway through the ordeal, you've got people that are completely wound around the axle, and you couldn't tell them otherwise. And so, you know, I think that the key to being successful in continuing to, you know, kind of have feelers out that's bringing in this information that could be, you know, useful and properly fact-checked and sifted and processed and screened, and that be done with the least amount of emotion. It's terrible. It's kind of like if, you know, two people are drowning, it's silly to think you can help someone else drowning until you help yourself, right? Or in the airplane, when the masks come down, you put it on yourself first before you help your neighbor put it on, right? So you can't be of help to someone else if you're not all the way put together. And remember that. And so another thing I wanted to touch on is this kind of, you know, this kind of ripple in the culture of the search about this, you know, for instance, things like this chalk that's popped up on the West's back porch. You know, I've heard it be broke down so far as, you know, it's the same color chalk that was on the sidewalk in the park, that was the house and the, you know, what the house and the big heart balloon or whatever. You know, I've heard a lot get broke all the way down to just the very finest fibers. And of course, with that is always the opinion of the author. We have to be very, very careful, folks. You know, a lot of these things can be explained away with ordinary life occurrences. The West have been convicted in no court of law. They aren't a suspect, so to speak. If you listen to Chief Walker, you're not hearing that verbiage. So, you know, quite naturally, maybe one of the family members came over potentially and they had kids and they used some chalk on the back and they left the chalk on the back. And then this whole subculture bubbles and says that it's, you know, they're planting chalk. Well, let me tell you, people, that chalk was put there ages after the police have been done doing what they got going on over there. They've had maintenance men trample all around that place, putting up plywood. I mean, they've done the business there, okay? Anything that was there on the outside that was on the surface level that hasn't been collected is gone, okay? Know that. You know, that could have also been thrown up there by, you know, a rogue searcher, you know, really wanting to curve views. And I mean, this thing is, it has taken on a certain life once it goes online. It's a whole different thing online than it is in actual life. And AV will tell you that. You know, the other thing is that I really wanted to touch on is, you know, there's wide studies, have been done and there's actual, you know, scientific, you know, factation, if that's a word, certification that, you know, there's like a video phenomenon. And when the lighting is low and the pixelations are low and you've got, you know, things moving and you know, there's video phenomenon. And when you add video phenomenon such as pixeling and ghosting, look these things up. When you, the ghosting was a big thing in the Kanika Jenkins things. You know, people think they're seeing someone grab her as she's going around the corner. And actually what you're looking at is a pixel, in my opinion, in this author's opinion, and I also do video production, that's a ghosting of, you know, frame rates being too slow and people moving too fast and lighting. It's a perfect recipe where you get a defect or an artifact in the rendered MOV or MP4 or whatever codec it's in. You get a defect or an artifact there, and people that are wanting to believe something to be something so badly, they can see these things that aren't really maybe there, or maybe they are there and people don't see them. So beware that there is a video phenomenon that is widely known and accepted on, you know, from federal law enforcement all the way down. Just because something's on camera and it looks like something doesn't necessarily mean it's so. It's the evidence of absence isn't the absence of evidence, right? Remember that. The other thing is these big platforms. I'm not going to speak on them because I think all the big platforms that have been generating quite a currency off of these things, that I believe that a portion of this is aided into, you know, helping the boys, and a lot of it, I see other guys doing, you know, different things, and that's your guys' business. I'm not here for that. I'm here to help be critical, right? Be critical and challenge the ideas. Don't follow an idea because you see a herd and maybe you get exposed to the herd mentality. You can't fall into that. These big platforms, I see get on there and they've got 3 and 4 other people on these Zoom chats and it looks really good. And there's 3 or 4 professionals that got 1,000, 2,000 people in these chat rooms going on and on and on and on. And you look at it and it's really a big mess because I see a whole lot of people that are misinformed. And a lot of these details are out there, folks. They're out there. There's a way that you can fact check these things on down the pike, and you can see where they came from, and you start checking probabilities, and you know, and then of course the good old judge of character, which lies within yourself. And so, you know, let's really, you know, it's like somebody knocked out on the ground. Great warriors, great boxers, they get knocked out and they're on the ground. And sometimes the best thing you can do to let that situation turn around is to step back and give it some air, right? Everybody step back, give it some room to breathe for a minute. Because when you have all this pressure and you have all these facts and none of it's been fact checked, pardon me, somebody's going to kill me for that. None of it's been fact checked or source driven all the way back to its origin to see what really what's in the mix here. You got too many hands in the dope. You know, I don't know how else to say it, but you know, this is my first time doing anything like this, and I just see that we've got to, you know, we've got to do better, folks. The thing is in the street, it's you know, it's an epitaph, and it's, if you knew better, you would do better. And I'll leave you with that.